Thanks for joining us for episode 195 of the Coffee Roaster Warm-Up Sessions podcast. This episode is all about coffee hand grinders. Now, hand grinders have exploded in popularity over the last decade in the coffee industry, and for some very good reasons. And might I say, they might be better than electric coffee grinders that are way more expensive for a lot of really good reasons. And that's what this episode is all about. Anyways, let's jump into this. Friends, thanks for... Whoa, Serge,
sorry.
Where are you leaving off to? The podcast is just getting started.
I'm trying to get my stuff together and get it organized.
Okay.
Are we gonna just roll with it?
Well, let's just roll with it. That was
more of a cat and cloud entrance.
Yeah, that was actually.
All right, I'm not gonna mess with this.
Are you ready for batch brew? You can get comfortable. I can get some batch brew while I'm at it.
Dude, let's do it. Let's just roll with it. Why the heck not? I was still drinking Miller. Ooh, the aromas on this.
Yeah, I didn't tell you this, but yesterday when you were stuck in traffic, I literally just brewed myself a cup of Miller. Like, this is like literally over a month. Actually, just barely over a month. And man, it was
solid.
It was so nice.
So good.
I was like, it was just a very pleasant surprise. Too hot.
Man, you know what's the problem? Is I put on Carmex before, like literally as I walked in here.
It's perfect.
And I think I taste more Carmex than anything else.
Yep. Anything, once you put anything on your lips,
it's a bad idea.
You're done for. Yeah.
Did I ever tell you that I was kicked out of a cupping one time for wearing cologne?
I mean, it makes sense.
Amateur mistake.
It makes sense.
Yeah. And gently be like, yo, dude, you got to go home and change.
It makes sense.
It was for work. It was for social grounds.
Yeah.
Yep, can't do that.
It would kill a cupping.
100%.
Because you're like, I don't know, is that a floor? Is that, yeah.
When I did volunteer for the SCA, I set up their major sensory thing. And like, it was like part of a class course thing where you set up like 100 different materials that actually defined their sensory handbook. It was a powerful class. I got in as a volunteer for free. So like so much value, like it was incredible. But I had to like sign a waiver that I would not wear anything scented. No deodorant, no nothing. Or else it would ruin the whole setup. But
that's rough.
Side note, yeah.
Huh, interesting. Do we do another podcast episode about SCA's crusty new scoring sheet?
Oh, that's been a hot take.
The mathematical.
It's been a hot take. Everyone is throwing shade at the SCA. Like, is it more of a monopoly? Money.
The sheet's wild, dude. Did you see it?
No, I did not. Tell me more.
It's a straight up math calculus equation that you have to go through. Like, it's like, I haven't looked into it too much, but it's like wild. Like how they, like it's a whole, it went from, I think like a one sheet to like multiple sheets you have to fill out.
For equality scoring.
Yeah.
And that's under the new regulation of what it means to be a Q grader, I guess.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Whatever their definition of a Q. Yeah.
You guys.
Wowzer.
Yeah, it's a little wild.
Yeah.
But this coffee's, I'm enjoying this. It's got this interesting like nice acidity up front, some nice sweetness coming back in the back.
Yeah, my favorite thing is the textures. I'm having a hard time tasting stuff, but like the textures are solid. It's got, it's very silky, very nice. Yeah,
juicy. It's like a nice, I say this is like pretty balanced. Pretty balanced. It's got nice sweetness, nice acidity. I'm getting a lot of purple. It's the problem with this coffee. When we cupped it, I'm like,
same thing. We always get the same thing.
It's just like purple, grape jelly.
It's one of those coffees that I think hits equally on our preference level. Because like our preference levels are so unique, but also we have a pretty good Venn diagram when it comes to our preference. And this is like right in the overlap.
Yep. And
our cupping nodes blindly are usually the same.
Yeah,
it's like purple.
Nice, a little bit of kiwi on there as well.
Did I mention that last time?
Yeah.
Did I tell you that, or did I tell Maddie that when I cupped at home. You
told me that.
Kiwi?
No, that was Kiwi after we looked at like the.
Yeah. That's right.
So
that's right.
That was like I was like, oh, I definitely would not say Kiwi. Like it wasn't on my notes, my cupping notes. But as soon as you said that, I was like, okay, I can see it. It's like it's not as sweet and big as like a melon, but it's also not like grapefruit acidity and like, just all in your face brightness. It's got, but it has some sweet
tropical sense.
Yeah, it's like
it's
a
not
slight tropical. Yeah,
as a pineapple.
Yeah.
I like it.
But yeah, this is a new coffee that we're going to be releasing here soon. But if you're listening to this and you want to pick up some no label dial-in batch, this is actually a really great, I think, value for this coffee. It's in Ecuador from Loja, from Juan Peña. And if you've been around the coffee industry a little bit, Juan Peña has been just crushing it with his Típico Mejorados and all of his processing. So it's top tier. We only got like 25 pounds of this, so probably wasn't like the best financial move, but it was it's a great solid coffee, anaerobic natural. It's literally gonna be very short in time, in stock, that is. And I think right now, if you pick up the no label dial-in batch at that price point,
I wouldn't even go as far as saying like if you miss out on
it's a great price for it.
I mean, on top of price, with the amount of the quantity that we have, if you miss out on the no dial-in, the chances of you actually getting a bag is slim to none, because like our wholesale program right now is probably going to take majority of that.
Right.
That's true. That's why I would say like, hey, if you are really curious about this coffee and our take on Juan Peña's coffees, you need to snag the no dial-in, because it's going to go way too quick. I can almost guarantee that. Yeah.
Or, on top of that, you could actually just go pick up some Juan Peña no label dial-in batch, pick up like the Gosca Brothers and the Wilton, and then you get some free shipping. Perfect. And holy cow, those three coffees will just rip on your... just rip if you're using a hand grinder, because hand grinders, I don't know. No, that was a terrible segue.
No, you're making me sad, because all of these things like that you're talking about in the intro, I'm like, I sold my hand grinder, and we recently sent some samples to our friend Nate in Jacksonville, Florida, who's pretty close to opening his cafe. But he bought my hand grinder, my Comandante C40, and he just got the sample of the Lasso and some of our newer coffees. And was I even supposed to say that? I don't think I was supposed to say that. Our new coffees.
That's great. It's great.
But sneak peek. But all in all, he's been brewing those coffees on the C40, and he said they are absolutely ripping. So hand grinder for the win, good coffee for the win.
Nate just got a nice grinder. What a snag.
Yeah, so I miss it.
But speaking of hand grinders, as you guys probably have seen from the title of this video and the intro, this is something I've just been thinking about, because not only from our last podcast episode, we touched up on gear and grinders and all that jazz, but I've been thinking a lot lately of why do I keep I'm all over the place, but the Reddit, all the Reddit posts
that was a great post.
I've been so that one, the one we posted about, literally asking the people what they thought about hand grinders versus electric grinders, but also just spending time on Reddit and seeing how many people use hand grinders. I don't know. I'm just surprised. Like you wouldn't think that hand grinders, like a very manual thing, would be so popular, but literally like over the last 3-4 months since I'm spending, or actually like 8 months spending more time on Reddit, the coffee forums, it's crazy how many people have hand grinders. Like they're so popular, and they're also like so recommended by all the coffee enthusiasts in the forum. So like when somebody's like, hey, I'm looking for a new grinder, like hand grinders are like right up there with electric grinders. And then I was like looking at my own experience. Like I picked up the Comandante X25 at SCA I don't know, this was like a few years back.
Yeah.
But I remember like using the Comandante, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know why, but I really like the coffees that I'm getting, that I'm brewing with this grinder. And then realizing like I just stopped using literally the EK in this office.
Right.
I just stopped using it.
Yep.
And now, even though like every time I still go to grind, I'm like 95% of the time using the Comandante hand grinder over the EK, which I know the EK that with stock burrs isn't the best. It's not the pre-2015 burrs, it's the later burrs. So that does play a role, but man, like a $200 grinder, and I'm gravitating to it over like a $3,000 grinder that's literally right here. So
it also makes sense because I see in the competition circle, especially for Brewers Cup, I see a lot of hand grinders utilized. I would say it's like one of the most popular hand grinders. And then if you look at a lot of the previous Brewers Cup World Brewers champions have also gravitated towards using the hand grinders. So in general, that says a lot. But I agree with you. Like I've also, like, when you brought up this topic and when you sent me the link to the post on Reddit, I was like, oh, we just connected so many dots, because Lance has been talking about hand grinders for a while and a lot. And there's this big move towards more of like analog grinding versus just electric. But I never thought in my mind, what connected the dots for me was the fact that home baristas and people brewing at home actually gravitate towards the preference of using hand grinders, which to me is, I never thought that way. You know, apart from competition, there was a few pros towards bringing a hand grinder. I still didn't end up using my hand grinder for brewers. Maybe that's why I got such bad points scores. You know what I mean? But travel wise, like, it's easy. Like, just the diminishing return on a hand grinder is, would that make it very low or high? Like, you get a lot for what you pay for. And then on top of that, it's just very simple and easy to use. Yeah. So, you know, and we've been doing that. Personally, you and I have been doing the hand grinder thing a lot, because originally, like in the very beginning of Mirror, when we were doing those videos where we would go watch the Eagles, of course we're not bringing like an EK out into the forest. Right. Like, you know what I mean? Bring a hand grinder.
Right,
so,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but cool. Let's break this down into a few I think like key reasons why I think hand grinders, this sounds weird to say, but why hand grinders absolutely trump electric grinders, like why they just crush them. And I think number one, we can just start with like the obvious, is like the portability, the mobility, and the size of them.
Yeah.
You just can't find a grinder that's smaller than a hand grinder that's going to perform at that quality. Yeah. Especially, but the quality will get there. But like, man, especially for travel, I know you mentioned travel, but camping, like if you're going outdoors anywhere, or like the Airbnb, I don't know if it was you that I was talking to. Maybe it was. No, it was like, actually my buddy was going out to an Airbnb with some family in Florida. And he's like, hey, like there's a crusty like drip coffee maker, but there's no grinder. And he picked up a Comandante grinder, and now he can just grind fresh beans like right there. Yep. Like it's just like that portability factor, and being able to take it on trips, take it on travel. It doesn't weigh a lot. It doesn't take up enough space. Like, I don't know.
I mean, it's like, it's also the go-to grinder for Mile High. You know what I mean? You're up in the air, you're floating in the clouds, like, and you want to pull out an AeroPress and make a scene next to like two people touching your shoulders. You're going to be grinding.
You like, want to frustrate everybody, you know what I mean? For like the next 10 seconds.
Yeah. They're like, dude, shut up. I thought babies were annoying. Yeah. Like, yeah, for sure. I think that's great. And then with that said, it's like your Comandante, the Trailmaster, it's tiny. Like, remember that little setup that you made with that, in that little, almost like a money bag?
Yeah.
You had
like
your
the toiletries kit.
Everything. Yeah. You had a toiletries kit. You had everything in there. Yep. So it's like super tight. It's easy to not only to travel and move around with. It's like you can basically use it anywhere. You don't need no electricity. That's 100%. The other major part, right? It's obvious. You're just cranking with your hand. Yep. So that is a major benefit. And then at the end of the day, I think the
I could even think about what you just said about like it doesn't need electricity. I know that's obvious.
it's obvious, but right?
but it's like, oh shoot, like cool, like if something happens, I don't know, electricity goes out, you
Yeah.
still have, I don't know,
Yeah.
I don't know why
Oh,
you're worried about brewing when
Right.
the electricity goes out. But if you know you don't have any electricity and you want to brew a tasty cup, well now you can just use it.
The hand grinder is a prepper's best friend. Like, let's be honest. Like, if you're preparing for the zombie apocalypse and you don't have a hand grinder, you're not a prepper. So you have to. Like, it's ultimate. Like, and we're living in tough times. Like, yeah, I'm joking, but you get the point.
Yeah.
My other
100%.
thought for that is, okay, you live, for example, you live in a studio. You live in like a 300 square foot closet, maybe. Like, you don't have the counter space for a EG1, even if you could afford it. Like, let's say you're making a ton of money, but you live a small little humble life. Like, you're still not gonna buy an EG1 if you don't know where to put it. Even though like I'm obsessed with the EG1, like, you know what I mean? Like, my favorite grinder probably of all time.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, if you're living in a compact space, you don't have a lot of counter space, like, hand grinder is another big win. It's like you can tuck it away. It doesn't have to sit on the counter. Or if it does sit on the counter, it's like, whoop-de-doo, doesn't take up a lot of room.
Yeah.
You don't have to find, again, the little plug-in. Like, if you have a poorly designed kitchen, like,
100%.
you know, you're renting an apartment, you didn't build a custom kitchen in your house, like, you don't have a plug-in for that, you don't need one. Like, I think those little things are absolutely, when it comes to what you were talking about, like, just the function, like the practical function of a hand grinder, it's absolute trump over electric grinders.
I mean, I'm glad you brought up the kitchen part because that's so true. It's just like, if you, especially like, for example, if you live like in an apartment, like kitchen, and you have appliances, you know, plus if you have like an espresso machine, or plus you have the kettle, your brewers, your scale, like, either you have like a tiny corner to the side, or you have to stash a lot of those things. So like if you're stashing it into a drawer, that's easy. You just throw the hand grinder in there. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's such a stupid good like return that it's insane. And I think all of that gets even better because now we're talking about like grind quality. Like, you are not sacrificing very much on grind quality. Like, the fact that you can have all those things, all those benefits with grind quality is like a huge one. And it's like, and the grind to value, again, not just like monetary value, but also like benefit value, like all the benefits that we just talked about with the grind quality is killer. But now you have the benefit of, grind to value as in monetary, like financially, that's insane. Like, the C40 Comandante costs like $250. Like, at that price point, you can't get a better electric grinder. Like, you just, I mean, maybe, what's the O Gen 2 running at?
O Gen 2 is like
$300?
A little over 300 plus tax. It's slightly more than the Pietro.
No, the Pietro is 450.
450? Really?
Yeah, I think that's what I just looked up.
Let me do some.
Because the Pietro, I mean, flat burr, a little more expensive.
You're right. That's right here.
How much is it?
450.
450. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a little pricey.
I guess that's like still under $500. Like, the most expensive hand grinders are still under $500.
And according to Lance, I don't know. I don't have any experience with it, but according to Lance, it's like one of the most uniform like burrs in there and grind, which is just insane that you're getting it for that under $500.
Insane.
Where if you're looking for like an electric grinder equivalent to that, I mean, you're at least spending $500 plus.
Right.
And that's like, I don't know. But if you go with like a Comandante or a, what's it called? The ZP6, which is what everybody raves about. ZP6 is also like $250, $200.
Really? Gotcha.
Yeah. Pretty much the like similar price point. But man, like I'm telling you, if you're building out like a home coffee bar setup, your most important things are probably coffee, arguably coffee, water, and then maybe grinder. Or coffee, grinder, water.
That's how I would put it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's one of the core things. And if you can spend $200 as your most expensive like core piece of equipment,
Yeah,
that's insane.
And I might be wrong about this, but I from what I remember with my C40, like if you're buying those bags that are like 4-ounce bags, you're gonna want to make sure every gram, every bean is not wasted. Hand grinders don't really have much retention.
That's true.
You know,
I actually didn't think about that.
And for me, that was a big thing on my hand grinder. If I was brewing some of my last bags, I definitely was not putting it through my ode. Absolutely not, because my ode is gonna eat like half of my dose, like, you know what I mean, before it actually spits out what I want. Yeah. So I mean, jokingly, but seriously, like that's the case. And with my hand grinders, especially with when it comes to grind size uniformity, you know, Lance talks about that the valley and the volcano the peak. It has such a good tight uniformity that I don't have to worry about it messing up my grind size. Even if I have like dialed in the coffee and I need to redial, that's the easiest one for me to go with the hand grinder.
Yep. Yeah.
Less risk. Yeah.
Yeah. And you don't have to worry about like, I don't know, again, like retention, not only from a you're losing beans wise, but also retention from like flavor wise. Yeah. Like you don't want like last brew's beans, especially if you have a different grinder, getting through onto this bean that you're, especially if it's you're on your last dose. You don't have to purge. You just grab your little like, I don't know. I use my little like thing? Rocket like camera that's cleaner. What I use. Yep. It's so good. You just blow it a few times, cleans out the hand grinder. Yeah. And it's like, again, like minimal like maintenance, super easy, and it's like, you're just getting such I don't know, it's such a good bang for your buck. Grind to value. So for sure you're getting a lot in return. But there's also a few other benefits. A few other benefits to hand grinders that kill electric grinders is noise.
Yes. And I absolutely love this quote. I wrote it down. I was reading through the Reddit. It's from Freshly Squeezed RY. They say, I'm an early bird. I'm up at 4:35 a.m., which is kudos. Like I rarely was up at 4:30 when I worked barista shifts while my family's sleeping, and the Encore is hella loud.
Yeah, the Encore is
the
worst.
We both have owned an Encore. Yeah. I just like Maddie and I just gifted the Encore to her parents. Nice. And when we were at their house and they were making coffee in the morning, I was like, oh, this is like insanely louder than any of the other.
It's outrageous. It's outrageous.
It's like wild. So yeah, and they say it's woken my daughter up several times. I would not want to wake my daughter up at 4 a.m. Right. For this reason alone, I am now in the market for a hand grinder, and that is ultimately one of the biggest wins, I would say. But that is a major win. When it comes to the hand grinder, you never have to worry about noise, just the crunch of the beans. And that's the music to every brewer's ears, you know? Yeah.
There was another quote. Did you want to read another quote, something right above that? I don't know.
Well, it's
I thought that was good about the performance to grind.
Yeah, there's a performance one was also like, I think the biggest reason, this is from Capanova. I think the biggest reason you're seeing hand grinders recommended is because of the price to performance ratio. It's what we were talking about earlier. Hand grinders have over electric grinders in the same performance tier. That's just like that quote right there kind of sums up everything we said earlier, is that if you're looking for something highly like high performance, and tie that with the classic function of like low noise, there's those advantages, the electric advantages, like all of those things. You are not going to find a grinder that exceeds the performance of a very good proper hand grinder. Even if it's something in that $500 range, like the Pietro, like you're getting outstanding bang for your buck when it comes to that.
Yeah. So there are a few downsides though. And I don't know if we're going to turn this into a mini series and talk about next week. Electric grinders, why they're so much better. Because there are perks to electric grinders that hand grinders don't. quite meet up to, but just a simple thing of like you're not using like manpower, like that is a very real thing.
Yeah.
And speaking of like waking up kids in the morning, the other downside is like, yeah, you might not have time if you're brewing for 2 or 3 people.
Yeah, that is.
You don't have time to brew, you know, whether that's batch brew, you know, to a 30, 40, 50 gram dose. Imagine like that now takes quite a bit more time and energy. But on the flip side, even if you're just making like 2 single pour overs for 2 people, that still increases your workflow quite a bit. But as we wrap up this episode, I do want to touch upon what was your workflow like when you had your Comandante? How much did you use your Comandante versus your Ode, and then versus you had a Vario or?
I had a Vario W plus. It really depends. So I got the red clicks, and when I got the red clicks, I was also making espresso before I had the Vario. I was using it, actually my Comandante, predominantly for espresso.
What?
Yeah.
That's what
everyone says not to do.
Yeah.
Right. But I had no other option. And that's the thing, is with the red clicks, I could dial in espresso on a hand grinder. Like that's obnoxious, right? And then I could also use it to go camping and brew a pour over, which is the wild part about. There's not a lot of grinders, electric grinders, that can actually do that, and that grinder could. So my workflow is basically like with the manual aspect of the flare and the manual aspect of the hand grinder. It took a lot of time, but it was all fully manual, right? Yeah. That was the key. I would turn on the basically the flare to warm up the chamber. And while that was warming up, I was, dosing and grinding. And when you're grinding that fine, even a 18 gram dose, it takes time. So dialing in espresso is not fun. But like grinding that down, by the time it's warm, I was ready to go. And it was just basically took the same amount of time. It wasn't that bad. The hardest part was flip-flopping, like that shot was nearly there. I want to make it better. Yep. And the restart of it was super challenging, I would say.
Right. Yeah, I've also noticed that, especially from our last podcast about the trend of grinding coarser for pour-overs. Yeah. If you grind coarser on hand grinder, that speeds up your grind quite a bit. So much. And so now it's like I'll just come into the office, turn on my kettle, and I all of a sudden start prepping my beans, my dose, grind through, and I can literally grind through and prep everything. Yep. By the time my kettle gets to 206, 207, and then literally almost no time wasted, because you'd still be waiting for your kettle to warm up.
Yeah.
So it's like no time wasted. Boom, you get it all prepped and you're ready to go. And it's like...
And on top of that, when you're grinding on a hand grinder, for most, not all of them, but for my C40, you're at an angle, right? So you're holding it at an angle and going. Yep. That's very beneficial with how the beans are entering the burrs.
Yeah.
So it's actually like slow feeding, right? At 100 RPMs. Yeah. So it's like really, really, really beneficial for grind quality. And especially when it comes to espresso, it worked good. Yeah. It just gave you a little extra, right hand exercise.
Yeah. I think also something you mentioned in the outline is that just the drift to more manual experiences.
Yeah.
Whether that's with digital cameras, other things, digital and analog just comes to mind first. But a lot of stuff that's just moving to like more tactical, hands-on, away from kind of like the electric side to things. Yeah. I don't know. I think there's some value to that. A lot of people on Reddit who responded to that post mentioned that they actually enjoy the grinding process, the analog experience. And part of brewing coffee is like the experience itself, is like how your workflow is, how you feel, what you're doing, all that jazz. So
my thought is like, are cars gonna go back to like, are you ever gonna see a Tesla with stick shift Tesla? Probably not.
Yeah, that's probably not gonna happen.
And the same thing is like, I shot a wedding recently, and I'm like, Yeah, I envy photographers like Summer who does killer job on film, and I'm like, dude, that's so dope. Like I envy film photography. I love to do it, but then at the end of the day, I'm just like, I don't think I'm putting down my R6 to predominantly shoot on my AE1. Like
Right,
I get it,
right.
and that's like not to say that I wouldn't choose a hand grinder over my Ode, but there's some things I love the push towards like analog a lot, but even at home, I think for me, it's like a balance of like things that I can generally do. Like I don't have a rice cooker. I cook rice like generally like the traditional way, right? Boil some water, add the rice, this and that. But there's some things that I would like to exchange to be a little more manual, and some things that I'm like, dude, like push the tech as far as you can.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Well, folks, that's a wrap for this episode. If you made it this far, I'd love to hear some of your comments. What do you guys think about hand grinders? Are you a hand grind lover? Do you own a hand grinder? Maybe you've sold all your hand grinders and you've went full electric. I'd love to hear kind of some of your guys' experiences with them. But otherwise, that's it. Episode 195 of the Coffee Roaster Warm Sessions podcast. And as we always say, remember, reflect what's good.